Hello. I just want to make sure everybody can hear us, but this is Cindy
And Michael.
from Part-Time Permies, and we will get going. Sorry, we are late. They had a live show on Justin Rhodes for those who ordered the extended version. So they had that at 8 o'clock tonight, and they're just wrapping up right now. Oh.
You gotta turn your. There you go.
There we go. Sorry about that. Forgot to unmute, so I'll probably get
Caller, please hang up your phone. There's an echo.
Yeah, right. I just got that, so hopefully that won't be. That'll be a second of a echo. Apologize for that. Anyway, can everybody hear us? I guess that is the big question first.
Kathy says hello.
Kathy, hello. Yep. And Wendy's in the room. Hello, hello. Thank you for coming to our new time. It will be our new time from all summer. I think we'll pretty much keep this time, and it'll help us not overlap with another channel who goes actually from 7 to 9. The Aldermans used to have this time, but they have switched days, so we can bump later. That works.
We're calling it daylight summertime, so it allows everybody to go out and play. That extra hour while we still have light. We are on the edge of the time zone, so we want that extra light to be able to go do things, and I'm sure many of you are doing things too.
As well.
So we head into summer.
Yes. Hello, single man.
Right.
Yes, from California. I'm not going to call it California. So, anyway. Yeah, and I didn't do a specific herb of the week this week.
But we got something that's bigger and better and more surprising.
Although it'll be more talk and less pictures because we haven't been home all day.
Fresh off the presses.
Yes, although we could bring examples
we
over. Could. So we will be discussing a video that will be coming out in the next week to week and a half as soon as I get it done and before we leave for Montreal is the goal. We went foraging with Nobby today for the first time this season, and it was a private foraging tour.
We took a private jet all the way to Korea to go foraging today.
No, but we will not say exactly where we went foraging because we went foraging for Reishi, and we found Reishi, which is awesome. So we'll be able to go as the season develops and find more Reishi because it grows. Nobby said it takes like 8 months to grow.
It grows slow, so you really want to look spring and fall. You can catch it at any times, but if you're going to a repeated area, you probably only want to check on it once or twice a year. Because it needs time to develop. But you want to catch it before the season gets bad, or maybe you can catch it on the back end. Some of it has to do with rains and water, and some of them catch it either before it gets destroyed, breaks down, animals eat it, or other people.
Or it dries out.
Dries out, other people get to it. But yeah, you don't need to go rush out and get it like weekly. It's a rare forage.
It's a slow growth mushroom. So we will be talking about that and other things that we found on our foraging today. I got a number of videos up this week, so we'll kind of do a little review there, but like I said, this will be more of a wing it for tonight. And if you guys have questions about any of these things, then you could definitely throw them out there. If there's any questions we need to look up the answers for, we can do that during the week and maybe add them to this video that we'll be putting together for the foraging. So since it hasn't been edited yet and just filmed, we can always answer certain questions at that point. Valerie, hello, welcome. And so, so we had great time foraging. Oh my gosh, I am exhausted.
I'm not exhausted, but it was a long day.
It was.
We drove a lot, and came back. We put our makeup on for the live show, even though there's a little sun. Even though we put some sunscreen on,
we're a little bit.
And we're cut. I just got out of the shower.
You're cut up.
A half hour ago, and I am all cut up from mostly blackberries, huge blackberries.
And raspberries.
Going through
bushes
and swampy areas and muck boots and
so stay close here. So where I guess you haven't heard of reishi, it's usually used more medicinally. I have not looked up
exclusively. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
it's a little bitter, so it's really used as a regular, but within reasonable amounts of for medicinal teas.
So I will get more detailed information on that, and I'll put it up on the webpage. I guess it's not exactly a herb of the week. It's a fungus of the week.
It's a class. I don't know. It's a group of fungus, a classification.
Yeah. If you guys have another.
And it is commercially, you can commercially cultivate it too. You can on chips. It may be a little different quality than the wild, but it's commercially available.
And if you guys, by the way, if you guys have any other suggestions for the title of that, I started with herb of the week because I'm thinking foraging and all these greens and things I'm looking up. But they're not all herbs. A lot of it is other stuff. You're not tired at all.
No, I'm fine. I'm just...
Anyway. So, yeah, it's like this one's not an herb at all. It's not a plant. It's a fungus. So if you guys haven't heard of reishi, the Asians love reishi. And
Russian, Asian.
Yeah. Eastern European, probably.
About 2,500 years ahead of us on that one. At least.
Hello, Finite World. Thanks for joining us at a later time. But yeah, we're just jumping right into what we did today on our foraging, which will be a video coming up. We have a lot of videos to edit. I did get 3, I think, edited this week, but have a lot more in the works to come that I have to go through. But we're just excited to get out and foraging again today. Private foraging with Nabi. We were the only ones that she invited to come because she doesn't want her reishi honey hole, disturbed by other people.
So, and we're careful that we don't divulge it. We don't really go there without, asking permission or suggesting.
We're not
going
to take her spot.
We don't have a need for a tremendous amount of reishi. We don't sell it.
Yeah, we could do something like Wild Forage of the Week, Single Man. That if we get anybody and have any ideas on some catchy phrases, because it needs to be something searchable. Herb of the Week was very easy, and it's actually a very hot, searchable term that does come up. So that's kind of what I'm trying to hit on. But Wild Forage of the Week or Wild Food of the Week, but it's not all food either. So like this is more medicinal.
By the way, we're going on a public forage next Sunday. So if anybody happens to be in our area, and there are 3 or 4 people that pop in that are in a close drive distance from here, Nabi and their farm is doing a 3-hour public forage for pay. And if you are in the area and very interested next weekend in doing that, just private message us, and we'd be happy to forward on the details. And her information, she charges a little bit for it, but I can tell you it's really worth it. And it's like 15 people or less, usually like 8 people. And it's foraging for whatever. We think morels are going to...
Like 3 hours of foraging.
3-4 hours, yeah. And we think morels are going to pop probably this week in our area.
Yeah.
They may not, but we really think the weather, we're going to get rain and it's going to get hot, and we think morels are coming this week.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good week.
So that's a goal for sure. We're anticipating good morel foraging on Sunday next week.
And and it includes dinner at the end as well for those forages.
Vegetarian forage dinner, it's really, really good. Even if you're not vegetarian, you're going to be more than happy with
vegetarian with the option of vegan. So it's basically beef.
It's almost all foraged product, preserved and fresh.
And straight from their farm.
That alone is worth the cost of either the forage itself is way worth it, or the dinner, but combined, it's a great deal.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I want to say it's around. Don't quote me on this. $40 per person. Kids are free.
Kids are free, and it's fairly kid friendly. And
older kids, I would say, like probably 6, 7 and up. Yeah.
And it is a muck boot and jeans, because there's
you don't wear shorts
prickers and poison ivy, and we dig and go anywhere. There's good stuff.
Yes.
So,
hi Bree, welcome. So yes, and we don't get paid by them. We're not associated with them at all. We just love their farm and love Nabi and what she does with her foraging.
And we think she should make a ton of money doing what she does, because she's way underappreciated. So we like promoting her operations, and what they do because it preserves their lifestyle.
Yeah. And she does sell her forage project at the Kalamazoo Farmers Market as well. So just to
Farmers
throw it
Market opens next Saturday.
Yep.
First day for outdoor, so big weekend.
Yes. So we are trying to do all this stuff and keeping completely overbooked and busy, while trying to also get everything done before leaving for Montreal in just over a week. So it's been a bit crazy on that. But I will just go through, just to kind of list. Okay, let me go pull it up because I didn't even. Oops, that's still there. Excuse me for a moment while I pull up a list of our recent videos. The latest one was Lucky's biggest drama recently. The Lovebird Troublemakers went up yesterday. That is Lucky and Houdini. Houdini's up to her normal tricks, by the way. If you haven't seen that, or you haven't seen last year, she's hiding eggs again. Except Lucky loves that bird, and follows her everywhere, including out of the fenced area. So you gotta check out that. We still have to clip her wing. We're still working towards that. Gotta catch her. We don't handle our birds, so it's not actually something that's very easy.
Breeze in the house. So we've got like a really, we got regulars in. Almost everybody is a regular.
Yep.
And awesome. Guests are, new people are always encouraged too, but we got a lot of regulars, so.
And Bandana. Hi, Bandana Grandma.
Oh, yeah.
Good. Yes. Well, we're no longer competing with other channels, so that helps.
Which is what we think is a good, we're happy. We actually preferred this time slot, but we didn't want to get in
Alderman's way.
Alderman's, And so now that that's moved out of the way, we're like, we're getting into the 9 o'clock.
So, so just to summarize, we got the Lovebird Troublemaker video this week. We got planting potatoes with the 3-year-old because last weekend my niece was here. And I do have 2 more videos at least 1 more, possibly 2 more that I could put together with her because she planted her own seeds as well. So we'll get that out probably this week. And then why we watch Off Grid with Doug and Stacy. Of course, that was a part of their collaboration and competition. So Diana, welcome. Glad to see you here.
Where are you at, Diana?
Yeah, so
we got a lot of Midwest. Most of the people that stop in tend to be Midwest, although it's not exclusive by any means.
Yeah,
we just happen to have a lot of Midwest.
Yeah, we have people right now I know from California, from Michigan. We're in Michigan. Bandana Grandma, I'm trying to remember. Are you Michigan too? I can't remember. And I caught Bandana Grandma on a live show this week too. And then we have a variety of locations in the room, I want to say, which is kind of cool because you get, especially when you're talking foraging things, you kind of get some regionally based, but there are some things that are across the nation with that. So
Ohio, okay. Northern or Southern Ohio, or
neighbor.
With, yep. Well, and the good thing is, I mean, it's useful for anybody, and but because we have seasonal changes and we're in patterns, some of you have seen them. A few people will see them after us, but most people have seen them
already. That's the hard part.
And so it's just good to know where people are so that when we're talking what's going on, it makes sense within the last month or so or 6 weeks of what might have happened in your area.
Washington State, out on the West Coast?
Toledo,
I'm assuming. And Toledo, Ohio. Okay, yep. Right. Not too far, actually, from... that's... Actually, Divine Providence. Hello, that's a different channel.
Yep.
Or a different screening. So you're not that far from.
Watch for morels. Morels are coming up through central into northern Indiana, Ohio. We are looking at the maps, so you are really ready for morels as soon as there's water and warmth.
Yep. If you're warm enough and have some rain, you should go out and check under apple trees, elm trees,
other fruit trees,
aspen.
Peaches,
peaches a little bit.
Dead is preferred over live, but they can
show
up from the rotting fruit also in other areas.
Yeah. So Breeze definitely Washington on the West Coast.
So Breeze West Coast and then California, the single man is California.
Cool. Oh, thanks. Yes, we did.
Yeah, we totally did.
Yeah, if you guys, I mean, I don't think we've really mentioned that on the channel too much. I mean, we may have been passing a little bit, but just some of our history of how we got to where we are as far as growing our own food. When we were just married, we're from Michigan originally, but my graduate school brought us to New York. You were in school in New York for a little bit too, and we got married and lived out there, and I was finishing school. So we were in a apartment just north of the Bronx, just barely north, just outside the Bronx, but 9 floors up on the south side. So our balcony, it had a wraparound balcony. Our balcony looked over the Bronx.
And we were at like the 100-foot tree line, so the big tall trees
we're
that
over
looked
the
over
trees.
a parkway. We were just above it, which meant we got full sun off of a concrete balcony and a brick facade, almost too much heat. So we grew
peppers and tomatoes.
Yeah, primarily the salsa garden items in the biggest planters I could get that. And I was like, well, I hope it doesn't rip the balcony off because that'd be a real problem. Although it's a concrete balcony.
No, I think the biggest.
But we had 1,000 pounds of dirt, I think, on the balcony.
Probably.
We kept every year added. We had plants. We had
the whole thing
30 feet probably a balcony because it wrapped all the way around. And we ran small to large plants and planters the entire length. We had like a jungle.
Like, well, it wasn't very
eggplants, herbs.
It wasn't very deep, so it was only like 4 feet that you had. So it basically was like a jungle trying to walk through with just a single row of pots.
By end of August, as the tomatoes matured, and we tried to get some dwarf and potted things, and things grew a little slower, and we only had so much soil, and they would dry out.
Yeah.
But we got, we did eggplants, peppers. I think we had a small zucchini at one point.
Yeah.
Low yields.
We actually went for full-size plants too. We didn't do patio plants. We did full-size plants there.
We did that about 5 years.
We started companion planting because we were having problems with a Trinidad pepper plant that we had that was getting aphids
in the winters when we brought it inside.
When we got inside, it would build up, but we kept the thing alive for 9 years, bringing it inside in the winter, putting it outside in the summer. But what we found was when it was sitting next to a broadleaf thyme plant, which is like an African thyme plant, it didn't have as many aphid problems. So we started companion planting them.
Did we never threw any tomatoes at anybody. Did a few fall off, and they didn't hang too far over, but
we didn't have complaints on that.
No, we did have a neighbor that they grew over across the neighbor's wrought iron fence, and we're like, look, if they're on your,
on your side, you can eat them.
Yeah, Isaac, not Isaac, Puerto Rican guy.
I forget his name.
It wasn't Isaac.
No.
Anyway, we told him, he goes, it was crawling all the way up his fence, and he had a little blockade on him and his girlfriend and a retired guy, and he'd be hanging out, nice guy. We're like, look, anything that goes over there, it's all yours. He goes, don't worry, we already got him. So.
But, our biggest complainers actually there was the first floor. They had a patio straight out onto the ground, and it went out further than the balconies did. So when we watered our plants, if any of the water spilled over, they complained that it landed on their patio furniture.
That's right. We did have one at one point, but it was in an exposed area where anytime it rained, it got wet anyways. Yeah. So that was, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So that was our only.
And we really didn't leave the hose run. I mean, we had to bring out watering cans and manually put it on there.
We didn't have hoses. So
no, there was no hose in the apartment. Forget about that.
Yeah, so we did have to be careful how much to water at one time, trying not to overflow the pots and things as, so it rained when it wasn't raining.
We talked to Justin Rhodes, but that came up with Justin Rhodes. I don't think it made any of the video, but he kind of referenced it, I think, when we were interviewing him.
Yeah.
And we said, well, we did that, and then we went to a very small backyard that we shared with a dog, and I think we had 400 square feet of vegetable plot.
Raised beds
and things, and so we went from the patio to the
just a little further outside New York City, tiny lot.
Hello, Helix.
And the cat's joining. Tiny lot, fenced in. It was just.
And Justin jumped on that right away. He's like, because he was beginning or kind of early on in the just do it, just grow it, just do it right away.
He hadn't even come up with the slogan, just grow it.
When we were interviewing him, he was talking about it. He was like, stop messing around, stop reading about it, stop thinking spending all this time. He goes, just try it and then go figure it out.
Yeah.
And we said we were doing different things, and we're kind of new here, still doing things. Yeah. And he made the link. Well, it was obvious because you started out small on a patio, and then you went to doing this other small, fairly very urban garden, and now you've got
land with
got
chickens.
A 5-acre, opportunity that is still small for a farm because we're not a farm, but so he made that link.
Yeah, you know what's funny is going into this, I never called this a farm. I never called it a homestead. Once we started vlogging, it became like, oh yeah, we're a homestead. We do try to, grow our own food.
We're a limited homestead. Well, we're a part-time homestead.
We do try to grow our own food. We're a homestead. So we have some of those, some pieces of that aspect, but I never really considered it a farm. So when he actually asked if he could stop here as a visit on the farms tour and feature here, I'm like, yeah, we're not a farm, but I get it. He's stopping by some small places too.
And they're like, can you do a meetup? And we're like, yeah, we can definitely facilitate a meetup. We'd be happy to do that. And that's a good way to contribute.
But feature us and make it into the farm tour feature film as well. The shorter version as well. I haven't looked at the longer versions yet.
Yeah, we've got it, but we're going to look at it soon.
Yeah, I was told because they had, for people who got the longest version, there was a live, Justin and Rebecca did a live show just at 8 o'clock, which is part of the reason why we said, oh, if we're going to bump to 9, we should start this week. So we were in on that, and he goes, well, if you haven't watched longer ones, he goes, you're featured in the longer ones even more. And he's like, well, actually, Lucky's featured.
And they were talking about getting guard. He was very impressed on that. They're talking about getting guard geese tonight. That they're getting 2. We have 2. They're going to get 2 for a couple of their flocks.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was interesting.
Hi, Bobblehead.
You're not late. Hello. We're late.
We were late getting started too. You had to clip an audio.
We were talking about nipping a clip. We've not clipped any of them, but
we're gonna start.
One is causing trouble, and so
yeah. If you watch our most recent video, you'll see what she's doing. But Houdini's up to her old tricks and causing problems because Lucky, our goose, is in love with her and follows her everywhere.
The other thing that's kind of finishing out that's sort of interesting. So Justin was talking to some people about growing on 1 acre or 2 acres and not being able to do anything, or city plots, and don't really worry about the size. We had read when we were back in the apartment.
Yeah. We
were reading, and then at the house, maybe we were starting to read about intensive gardening and some of these plans that have family of 4 on 1,000 acres or so. And being able to, 1,000 acres on 1,000 square feet, and you could do these progressive plans, and that you could really provide for a family, not maybe everything, but you'd have, if you really had to, you could do a lot of potatoes and other things. It was from this.
Yeah, this John Jervin's book.
And it uses a lot of
how to grow more
dwarf trees, but it has a 3 or 4 year cycle. If you haven't gotten that book for the $19,
it's good.
It's worth way more than that. It was really our starter, and it's still a go-to, and it's got companion planting and discussion on soil and intensive
rotations and how
full-on plots and plans for 3 or 4 years out.
Yeah.
How to grow for a family of 4 and provide theoretically almost all of your sustaining vegetables, which is beyond what most of us
all
need.
different size. A 1-person mini garden in the 3rd year.
So that's how we started out, and this has been from the 70s, starting to grow on unusable soil in California, and they continue to update it a little bit. It's really it's a classic text, but it's still relevant and modern. So we did that. So what the end of it was, when we came out here, we've said before, we were looking for 10 to 20 acres with an expectation of maybe up to 40 acres, that we weren't going to use a lot of it. We just wanted the land. That wasn't a doable either in our distance and location. It wasn't doable in cost. It wasn't doable in a house and land that would both be usable and livable. So in that, we ended up with, and then we're like, well, let's try and at least get 10.
Yeah.
And then we got 5.
Yeah.
And so in one way, it was a little
just budget-wise.
It was kind of disappointing, but not extremely. It was just like, well, that's reasonable. But when we look at it now, it's actually not, because we have to go back and remember that intensive planning. If we spend the years building it up with a little bit of a plan, you can move things around and carefully, we can actually grow such a crazy abundance on 5 acres. You could always wish for more.
And we're not even growing.
But we don't need it, actually.
We're not even growing on 5 acres.
It's just larger animals, but we don't have the time and resources to maintain larger animals anyways.
Yeah, I mean, that's in one way we kind of do dream about, can we get 2 pigs?
We have no time
Could we
for
get
it. And the cost associated in getting them would take years to pay off the benefits of having them.
I mean, it depends. I mean, what you're buying. If you're buying if you really are buying all organic and grass fed or whatnot,
we don't have
that we're not 100% that way because it's expensive.
We don't have pasture and we don't have a barn. So if we moved into larger animals, we don't know how. We're not farmers by trade. We didn't grow up on farms. So the learning curve plus the facilities curve would be pretty costly on top of the time. So that's not really something that's immediate. Yep. Yeah, I recommend this book to so many people on so many levels, from very simple to very complex, sophisticated growing and scientific basis. It is done, I think, UC Davis no, it's one of the California university programs helped build it. And so I would recommend anybody who doesn't have this book, rush right out and get it.
Yeah, it's great.
And the one thing, we never get paid for anything we promote, although you can actually buy it through the Amazon account.
If you
under
click
part-time
the link,
Permies, and
that'd be awesome if you want to. You don't have to. You could get it on Amazon.
I think it may even be linked in our stuff.
But it might be linked in the stuff below. Otherwise, there is a general link to Amazon. Anything you buy.
How to grow more vegetables than you ever thought possible, and less space and whatever.
Yeah.
In less land than you can imagine, which is exactly what we're doing.
Yeah. And we've always done.
And we got this we went to, there's an area called Bedford, close to where we were living in New York, and they had something called Bedford 2020, which we're actually approaching, which was a sustainability and energy conservation-based grant program in that area. They had committed to the 2020 program. It got a little wacky, and they've been doing it every couple of years. They did a big thing at the high school. It's a big community thing. We happened to go out there once, and we met somebody on a bunch of seeds and seed saving and things. And she said, and we said, we've got this house and we're starting a garden. And she had a couple resources, and she says, look up this book.
Yeah.
She goes, I think I'd start. And she had a beat up copy as a professional grower.
Yeah.
And I wrote that down, and that's how that started, was going to that seminar on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And it's the most, Elliot Coleman's great, and it's a very close second.
Yeah.
But this book is the #1 resource.
Yeah, those are the 2 books I use. I use Elliot Coleman's more for his, and do I do anything by the book?
No, we do bits and pieces. We
bits and pieces and pick what we want to try and mix it all up and match it. But companion planting, I like their charts, so I use
needs a goose.
Yes, you just saw that.
Well, there's lots of fertile goose eggs up in this area.
Yeah, there's actually a farm nearby us that raises geese for meat, and that's where we got our goose eggs. So our geese are not guard breeds, but they are...
they've been great.
They've been great because they're not aggressive to us either, but they are a big deterrent for aerial predators.
Just follow the rules on hatching and using them properly so that you don't get an aggressive... Yeah. So your chances are low of an aggressive goose because if you do it wrong, they could go after chickens and kill your chicken flock.
Yeah, they are strong enough to do that. So, okay, my rules to getting a goose: make sure you raise it with chicks.
Like hatch it in an incubator with a whole bunch of new hatching chicks, or
under a hen.
Under a hen would be better.
Who's hatching chicks also? In that respect, it might not be many chicks that it's hatching because the hen can only sit on so many eggs at a time, and a goose egg is about that big. We did it with our silkies, though.
The silky mother raised it fine.
Yes, she was great. He outgrew the silky in 3 weeks, though.
That's crazy.
But she still raised
Justin was here in about week 2 or something.
Yeah, and they were almost the same.
And that was in end of June. So it's been almost a year that we've had him.
So his video is little hen raised big goose or big goose and little, I don't know, something along those lines.
We saw the clip in the movie a week or so ago. We watched it and we're like, oh my gosh, it's so tiny. Lucky's so tiny.
Lucky's I have a playlist, by the way, if you ever want to catch up, and that video is included in that playlist. But it's Lucky's playlist from the first kind of rocky start of his hatch, because I had a staggered hatch, which is a whole nother thing you don't want to do if you can avoid it.
Yeah, you got to watch the timing because they don't hatch. If you get fresh eggs and fresh goose eggs and chicken eggs, you got a different incubation time.
Goose eggs take 28 days. Chicken eggs take 21 days. So you got to start your goose eggs a week before the chicken eggs. Chicken will sit 4 weeks on those eggs. She will sit until they hatch. So that's not a problem, but getting the timing where you get that under, like if you have a hen going brooding and using them, we don't have an incubator here, so we don't have an artificial setup. So get it under the hen, and we had 3 actually goose eggs to get under 3 broody hens. I had 1 hen who went broody first that we started all 3 goose eggs under, and then got lucky, 2 more hens went broody in the next week, or pretty close to it, but we were off by a couple days. So, so we did have a little bit of a staggered hatch. Lucky's
Finite's just been like all over the hashtags all night. And
the videos and links.
All the links.
No,
thank you.
Yeah, so Lucky did actually hatch 2 days after his sibling chicks, which was a problem because Mom was already feeding the chicks and was not sitting on Lucky and keeping him warm, and he couldn't walk yet. So watch that video. Actually, the first 2 in that playlist are that.
They're big when they hatch, so they are clumsy, and they don't get like other larger animals.
Still clumsy.
They have a hard time. Yeah, they're stupid clumsy.
They're not stupid.
I had to pull Lucky out of the electric fence, which had been turned off this week.
Yeah.
He ran straight into it, got his head and neck all the way through, 1 wing and both feet, and I was grasping him, and he's pretty gentle.
Yeah, he is.
And he's fluffy and soft, so I'm grasping him and trying to individually pull each leg and wing and then the neck out without strangulating him. But he stopped squirming, and he behaved. And then I went home and I went in and washed up after bear hugging a goose. But he was actually pretty agreeable. I think he was so freaked out he just kind of froze.
Well, and to put that in perspective, he doesn't freak out from the inside of that fence. He freaked out because he was outside the fence, and I think he may have felt like you were chasing him towards the fence. I
was moving him towards the fence to open it.
But it wasn't open yet.
And then all of a sudden he took off on a run and went straight into it. And so I had to go get him out.
Yeah, I don't know how he gets himself out without crashing the fence, though, and without getting tangled. But
I don't know how he's done it.
That's why we got to clip the wing.
Because we don't want to get him caught in there and not find him for hours.
Exactly.
Get him really tangled up. So.
Yeah, so that's why we got to get that wing clipped, because he's following Houdini out. His girlfriend hen. That goose is in love with that chicken. But that's another matter. They are funny. He's been following her around all winter. Really, he goes into, like when she was laying in the winter coop, he would go into the winter coop with her. And I think I got this on Instagram at some point. But when she started her egg song, he would start squawking along with her, and he's 5 times
like a bodyguard.
He is complete bodyguard.
And then he goes and chirps at her and makes talks to her and tells her what to do when she's like run.
It's hilarious.
I don't know if she understands him, but
but he follows her around everywhere unless he's in his pool. But so that's a hilarious relationship. But anyway, you'll have to check out the most recent development on it. And we'll get probably another video, hopefully this week, on how to clip a chicken's wing, so that they stop flying out, flying the coop. That'll come soon. I know there's other people who've done that one, but we'll probably put that together because we're going to be doing it anyway.
Yeah, we've never done it before, but
it'll be our first
time.
We
were just talking to a friend. She goes, "Oh yeah, I have to occasionally do it when they get into trouble." She goes, "It's really easy. It's really harmless."
Yeah,
you just clip the back end.
It's just the flight feathers. So you're cutting the flight feathers.
3, 4, 5 feathers on the back end. You just cut a couple inches off so they don't have enough lift.
Yeah, it throws them off balance.
Yeah.
Anyway, Delia, hello. So could you take the chicks away and as they hatch, and then after the goose hatches, bring them back? If you're doing, you
got to keep them warm. You got to keep 100 degrees.
Yes. Oh, well, yeah. You have a brooder. Like if you're doing this by hand, that's possible to do because if you take, because the geese will grow so much faster than the chicks. The thing is, the geese are a little clumsy at the beginning. I mean, it may
I
have
don't think it got legs for about 2 days. Just couldn't walk around.
Not well, but I mean, they have enough food in their system from the yolk, so that's not an issue. But I'd probably, if I did that, I got it. Yeah, we understood. If you did that, I think I'd probably bring them back on day 2 after the goose hatched, just to make sure that goose is up and moving around all right.
I don't know if you were doing it in an incubator and there wasn't a mother, I don't think there'd be any reason to remove them because they're not going to hurt the eggs.
Sure.
They'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's just with the mother feeding and taking care of them and sitting or not, because we don't have a heat lamp. If the mother gets up,
then that goose has no heat on it.
The goose is the goose egg isn't hot. So I don't think an incubator you could let it just happen as long as you time it fairly close.
Yeah, it's best if you're within, because the other thing is Lucky hatched 2 days before he was supposed to. It could have been a complete disaster if Mom got off, because our silkies seem to hatch, except the current one, which we have sitting on eggs, which I haven't done a video on, but I have one sitting on eggs. Our silkies tend to hatch our chicks a couple days early. Average is 21 days. So her chicks hatched a couple of days early. Lucky wasn't supposed to hatch until 2 days after the chicks were supposed to hatch.
Oh, 2 families there.
Hi, 2 family. And Kiri, I don't know if I said hi to you. Hello, hello. But then...
and Delia, who asked questions.
Yes. And then, but Lucky hatched 2 days early too. So the problem was the chicks needed food. So Mom was off showing the chicks food and wasn't sitting on Lucky. And Lucky really wasn't mobile yet and was cold. So that's, how he got his start. We had to actually put him under a heat lamp on his own for a couple days. And then until he caught up mobility wise to get him back under the hen, which she took him back very easily.
So if we look and we go full circle, we've talked about gardening, we've talked about poultry, we've introduced Reishi. Those of you that got in later, we can go back and probably start talking about our forage today.
And, yes.
And that we located and harvested some Reishi of moderate quality. Not a lot of...
I'll go grab a piece.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how many of you know what Reishi are? How many of you have have an interest in it or have used them? Or I guess that's a good thing to know about. Other mushrooms are coming our way. We've mentioned we believe morels are going to pop this coming week looking at the weather. It's getting up into the 70s near the end of the week, and we're getting an inch and a half of rain, we believe. So the combination of warm weather, ground getting warm, and water. So we're excited about other mushrooms. But morels are first in our area, and we are in a prolific morel area some years. So.
Okay.
All right, here we go. We got some Reishi samples.
Varieties here. So, and excuse me, I'm going to pull my video up so I can see, which makes it harder to watch the chat, but I think we can still see it.
We can still see it.
So a little one. This is a smaller one.
Classic shape.
Oh, let me get it in front of the camera for you. This is the top end. It has the stalk. It grows out of the stumps of trees, mainly maples and mainly very wet, dead maples.
Dead.
Like in swampy areas.
Soaked.
They have a lighter color underneath, although this gets darker as it gets older and dries out. And it's got some, I don't know if you can see that, some rings up top. I'm trying to get it to focus on this.
They tend to be very kind of firm, waxy, almost shiny, shellacky, depending on the conditions. Some of these are old, have overwintered, and they're a little drier.
Yeah. So this has a little bit of a give to it, but not much at all.
No, it's fairly firm. It's fairly hard.
This is a bigger version, and then it'll grow off the tree. Usually towards the base. This one was coming off a root, so it was actually growing almost like up off the root, coming off the tree. And they do like the root areas of the dead trees.
Between the roots up and in the mulch and compost and debris falling off the dead trees.
And this one we pulled off the side of a base of a tree. So again, it's got that reddish brown top, lighter bottom. This one's really dried out and a little bit eaten there.
We haven't done much with Reishi either, though. I've Googled it, but I haven't seen one. So. I definitely know what they are. I've not really spent a lot of time with them. I do know they are probably the top medicinal mushroom. They are relatively expensive and desirable, and they are used as a sort of a general. A general use for general health. They talk about diabetes 1 and 2. Talk about possible anti-cancer, anti-cough and cold. It may have somewhat of a steroidal effect. So it can energize and refresh and boost the immune system in sort of non-specific and some specific ways. So and there's pretty strong medical evidence. It's in the high class of things that seem to have very medicinal uses, and we're recognizing that a little bit more.
And they've been using them like Eastern Europe all the way east to Asia for a long time.
2,500 plus years. There's records. I was just reading. There are, by the way, 400.
He did more research.
I was just looking at some. There are 400 species that are or variants that have been identified. Yeah. And there are at least six found colors, each in its own genus or its own variety. Yeah, but there's multiple varieties in that. So
yeah, Nabi was talking about these are the ones that tend to
mahogany
grow
red.
Yeah, they're like a really dark red.
And they're the most common and desired.
These tend to grow off dead maple trees on the edges of swamps. As the water is receding, the bottoms of the trunks of those trees grow these, even down onto the roots as they're going into the ground. So you like brush off all the debris around it. But Nabi was saying on live maple trees in the kind of the same areas, sometimes you'll have a yellow reishi that she has seen. We didn't see those today, but
and you can get red is the most common. Yep. You can get yellow, you can get green, you can get blue, you can get white. Some of the cultivated ones, because people are growing them in appropriate mediums of wood chips. In general, they're probably pretty good, although there's always kind of some desirability to have a true wild one that decided it wanted to grow there, that it must have good conditions versus trying to force it. Yeah. And you do make tea is the method of extraction.
So you're supposed to. We haven't done this yet. We've had Nabi's reishi tea that she's made. She's our foraging leader. But you're supposed to cut them up into smaller pieces.
Cut them up or grind them up or powder them depending on the condition and how you're using it. Yep.
And boil them for a decent amount of time.
Bring them to a boil real quick. That's so you get a kill because you don't want botulism or anything else. So you bring them to a simmer. And then you drop it back to you bring it to a boil, and then you bring it to a simmer or below. So a crock pot is perfect. Yeah. And then you want to go 2 to 3 hours of a steeping of them. You do clean up the excess, junk
like
around them.
all this.
And you can hold them dry. They'll hold for probably years dry.
The stuff you pull off.
And then after you steep it, you drink the tea, and you can re-steep it sometimes 2 or 3 times, multiple times. The more you cut it up, the less you need and the less times you'll use it. The bigger it is, you can steep it multiple times. And then you consume a modest amount of tea you can do it on a very regular level, but you don't just drink it like all day long.
Yeah, it's like
it's a little bitter.
A glass a day or whatever. It is a little bitter.
Or do a little,
a shot.
A little shot. And like, we sometimes, the market, somebody had, they provide for a donation. It's reishi, chaga, and turkey tail all put in a crock pot, and a little shot glass, like an ounce or 2 ounce cup, is $5. Yeah. So it's
excuse me.
These we're told this is like $20. These are like $20 bills. Now this is in pretty decent shape. Yeah. The better the shape, really good one. Could fetch $20-ish on them.
And we did. Oh, hi, that 1870 Homestead. By the way, I did see you come in. And Papa Truck Pepstetter, and we have a lot of people in today.
I know.
That's awesome.
It's late. People are winding down. It's dark. That's why we wanted to go to 9 o'clock.
Yeah, it's a better time, I think, for most people. But we found them as small as about that big.
I got some little finger ones that are just...
Yeah, just tiny coming off the trees. Now, we left those to grow.
Let them grow. We don't want to take it all.
Because these take 8 months to really grow up. So, to a year. I mean, really, and they're slow-growing mushrooms. So you don't want to pull the tiny ones. They will grow bigger for later. Now, of course, if you have a lot of people who know your space, I mean, these things go, they're expensive. So there are a lot of people trying to hunt for reishi mushrooms.
And especially getting, like I said, getting the wild is a more desirable, whether it's a better mushroom or not than a cultivated. It's just people have an assumption that
So
the wild may be more potent, more useful.
We were kind of joking on our video today because we were not going to say our location that we were finding them specifically. We traveled a bit, but
Northern Michigan.
Yeah. So. We were joking that we went to Korea because we were with our foraging friend Nabi. She was sharing her location with us, which is
rare.
Really,
it's pretty rare, and she invited us. We didn't ask her. She says she'd said before she wanted to go a couple of times with Cindy, and she goes, I really want to take you, and the schedules are changing. She's like, we're like, well, we could do it this week. Yep. So yeah, that's pretty special to have a forager. Anytime they show you
something
spot,
special like
especially when morels are special, but when you're talking reishi, that's very special. So we definitely respect and protect that, because it's and we weren't like craving reishi. It was like she goes, I want to show you this.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so I am very thankful to Nabi for showing us. That 1870s just smashed it. Yep. Just smashed the thumbs up. Sorry, got that.
They had some nice bee pictures I saw today. Instagram.
Oh yeah, I missed that. Okay.
I happened to see it.
Yeah. We were so busy today because we went out. I think we left at 10 and got back at like 6. Mm-hmm. So we were out most of the day.
We drove
a ways. I'm not going to say how far.
A lot, well over 100 miles today.
Oh yeah, around, absolutely.
We drove.
We were driving around.
We ran a tank of gas between getting to location and then searching out for the proper conditions.
Yeah. So yeah.
And it wasn't easy to find, and it's small spots. So.
Yeah. So you have to find the right locations, and really what you're looking for, definitely wetlands with some marsh grasses around it, some dead maple trees in it, and that's kind of where you're.
The nuke went in today.
Yeah. That's where you're going to find your reishi. Now, of course, wetlands have a lot of edible food, so of course Nabi was stopping and going, here is spice bush.
And wintergreen.
Yeah, we
were chewing on some good stuff.
Yeah, the spice bush, by the way, didn't learn it, but they're in flower right now here. Further south, they might be done. But you take the flowers off, and what did she say? She batters them and fries them up and eats them like popcorn because they're these tiny little flowers.
And even freezes them after she flash fries.
Yeah.
So the other great thing is nobody's thinking about foraging yet because it's just warming up.
Yeah.
We were out in a big area of space, semi-public land, and legitimate place for us to be doing this.
Yeah.
And there was a few fishermen out in areas that we passed, and that was about it. There were some gun ranges we passed on the way out. People were practicing, but morels are going to pop. And I don't even know if the area we're in is necessarily a desirable area that a lot of people are out looking for stuff.
Yeah.
But nobody's out. I mean, we were out there by ourselves.
Exactly.
Which is crazy. And we're picking all these forage things that are very young and tender and have this really short window where they're desirable and edible.
Yeah.
And we're alone because people their radar is not on it. Give it a couple weeks.
And they'll be out.
In key areas for
mushrooms,
and especially beginning with the morels, people are going to be tripping over each other.
Yeah.
So,
and I do think, morels are definitely in Indiana, Ohio, for those of you guys down there.
They're the hot one in Michigan. If nothing else, people look for morels.
Someone already said that they found some morels.
2 people said they found some in the last couple.
Was it
not Deanna.
Maybe it was. Was it Diana Justice Day?
Delee.
Or
Delia.
Oh, Delia, yeah.
And then there was somebody else who also mentioned it, just down from there.
Okay.
So they're again. We've mentioned it today.
Yeah.
They are on the cusp. You may be finding little ones. You may be finding them in your
area.
They'll run for maybe about a month, depending on weather conditions. Fiddleheads, the beginnings of fiddleheads, we did locate very young, and those are the most desirable tender ones.
Nabi is adamant on this. There's 2 edible ferns.
And you don't really eat one of them usually.
No, the one that actually the Koreans call fiddlehead is not what we call fiddlehead. We call what is called royal fern or ostrich fern, which is edible. fiddleheads. But the Koreans call this other one a fiddlehead, which is a more delicate one.
It's a little triple head on it.
Yeah.
We get the hairy ones, which are sold in all the restaurants.
Yeah.
I buy them commercially as a chef.
Yeah.
I bought them, and they're foraged and then sold to a commercial. But it's a bigger and a little more bitter sometimes. That's the only thing I've ever seen come into any of the many restaurants that I've sold them at.
Not the Asian one that she...
Yeah, ferns, but not all ferns. There are some that are poisonous, so keep a little eye out.
Yeah.
And they all become undesirable and poisonous as they mature.
It's when they're
before they open up.
Yep. When they're curled up like a fiddlehead, like the little knobs at the end.
And they're very prevalent in our area, especially in the northern areas, and really a lot of the country.
Somebody's saying hi.
But you got to catch them at the right time, and there are a couple that you shouldn't eat, but the two that you can harvest are pretty identifiable.
Yeah. So you just want to make sure, like if you have a local forager that you can have look at them as they're opening up, that I would definitely double check them before eating them.
Northern Michigan, as you get an hour and a half north of us, you really see a forest line change. Mm-hmm. We're in an area of oaks and maples and such, and as you move an hour and a half north, it becomes a lot more northern. You're getting into tundra, but you get the prevalence is pines and aspen and the white birch, which all have some different really great mushroom hunting up there. And it blends, and then all of a sudden, as you get towards the Upper Peninsula and then into the Upper Peninsula, you really start cutting out most of the other trees, and you're down to the white birch.
And we're talking Michigan, though, for those of you guys who've joined in later who are not from Michigan. We're talking Michigan.
So you're getting into a very Nordic, because
very variable.
It stays so cold and for so long. You start losing a lot of your regular expected tree life, and you're in a different world up there, and it's
like
kind of nice.
Boston firms. So I don't know the non-edible ferns. Put that. I just know these two edible ones. This is Helix, by the way.
You get a lot of chaga up north, by the way. We've not ever gone looking for chaga, but chaga grows not in our area generally.
Further north.
Because it tends to grow in the birches. And it grows up north, and people go up there seeking it pretty regularly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, only thing we forage in Northwest
Florida. We got a lot of those blackberries.
Yep. Yes. In fact, your arms are all cut up from those wild blackberries.
I'm all cut up from blackberries today.
Blackberries and raspberries and rose bushes. There were brambles all the way around this little marsh that we were foraging around. We had muck boots on, so we were walking through the water.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Texas is in the south. Texas is in the south. I meant to say Rachel's in the south.
Texas is in the south.
That's true.
In case anybody didn't know.
Oh boy. So yeah, we don't. We went and we did try wintergreen. We found wintergreen. We did find a lot of other things that are just coming up. We found the violets were just starting to come out. Some of the mustard
grass. What's the prehistoric grass? The reed grasses. I forget
the name of that.
Those are super young and are considered. They're very primitive. They're considered to have some medicinal properties.
Don't know the details.
We'd have to look that up. I know they were used in native medicines and other things. They were used as a steeping item also, but I know nothing about them. We'd have to follow up on that.
Yeah, that 1870s home said, usually I'm the one on the keyboard. If you see me in us in other chat rooms, part-time Permies in other chat rooms, that's me. If he's in the room, he's usually not at the keyboard. That's because it's usually being shown on my computer. So,
Yeah, we were totally in and out of mucky wetland areas, and I showered and no ticks. The mosquitoes will be out in about 2 seconds from now, but there were no mosquitoes. There was a few gnats.
We really don't have.
As long as we didn't drown our boots, there are no poisonous snakes.
No, there's one poisonous snake in Michigan, and it is a rattlesnake, but it is extremely rare. in our area.
I even commented today, we're mucking around all the way up to the top of our muck boots, trying not to drown them at a couple of points.
Yeah.
Going, man, I would never be doing this in the South.
No. No, we are lucky on that. We don't have to worry about...
No poisonous spiders. It's still cool, so things are coming out. But,
well, I wouldn't say no poisonous
spiders.
you
can get a bite that's going to...
We have brown recluse.
Brown recluse. There are some brown recluse.
There's some brown recluse.
Not as prevalent as when...
Not like the South.
Yeah, the Mississauga can get you pretty darn sick. They are quite rare, and you've got to disturb them.
They usually run away.
Them up. They're definitely out there. That's the one thing you really got to watch out for. And they like water, right? The Mississaugas, I think, are down by...
I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up. But yeah, I don't know about that because my parents are in a very marshy woodland. And I never have seen a rattlesnake. It was all
poison ivy and mosquitoes are the things that'll really get us here, and we are lucky in general. Like I lived down in Atlanta for a while, in Memphis. Brown recluse. I lived down by the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
Brown recluses were awful there, and there'd be windowsills. I saw literally a guy's forearm that had a 2-inch hole in it, almost down to the bone, because they didn't take care of.
Right away.
Yeah, and it's so dangerous if you don't get them taken care of and get the cleaned up.
Ooh, morel recipes? Big ones. Size of a child's hand or bigger.
I've seen pictures of them that big.
Yeah, we haven't gotten ours that big.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So the key is to make sure the bugs are out and to make sure the sand is out. Yeah. It's very hard to get the sand out. The best thing you can do is if they're really sandy and you can't scrape it out, is you're going to have to plunge them in water right before you use them, and then try and put them on a towel or a paper towel. And best thing to cook them in is butter. The butter, and I'm talking butter, but you could use bacon fat or a lard or something. Oil's fine, but use something that's flavorful. It will pull out that flavor and infuse that flavor. You don't need a lot to saute them and put them over anything.
If you chopped them up and put them in butter and just put it over pasta?
You can definitely put them in. They're amazing in pasta with butter or with cream or a little shaving of cheese.
Just something simple.
Little herb in there.
Yeah.
You can put fiddleheads, will go great with morels. You can cut them in quarters, or if they're little, as whole ones. You can saute them, or
if they're as big as your hand, you're going to cut them as small.
Yeah, and I would cut them up because I don't think they're not so tender that you want to grill them whole or anything. Yeah. But saute them, bring the flavor out. You can put them over a pork chop or on top of a steak. I like to use sauce to extend the flavor because they are rich. Risotto, by the way, one of the top things you can do with morels. Saute them in the butter first. Make your risotto. Almost finish your risotto. Use some of the water maybe off of it or the butter, and then near the very end get the morels in the risotto, and that is a phenomenal way to extend the flavor. And by the way, risotto is made by stirring it a lot. It is not made by putting cream in it. It is creamy. No cream, please. We do a terrible job with that. It really annoys chefs, especially Italian chefs. So you cook it with the excess of water, liquid, chicken stock, vegetable stock. You stir it a little bit, and then at the end you stir it aggressively. You now add a lot of whole butter, and you can shave cheese, Parmesan, Pecorino, but it doesn't need heavy cream put in it. And what you'll find is heavy cream clogs your palate. It clogs your tongue so you don't taste as cleanly and as well. So if you're putting amazing mushrooms in or seafood, you want to taste that broth. Yeah. It should be white and milky and creamy and runny, not white cream, and you will have a way better experience.
They're laughing at you.
Yes. Well, and I've watched cooks, many cooks add cream, and you could finish it's always your choice. You could finish with a touch of cream at the very end and stir it in.
But it's like the same as putting a touch of cheese in there or something,
in place of some cheese where you don't want to use cheese or something. And you got to make it loose because it firms up as it cools. But I watch cooks do it, and it's like you completely ruin the dish.
Yeah.
You have no idea what you're doing. and it was not a choice item. It really changes the quality of, and why risotto is special and amazing is because you used a good quality carnarole or risotto rice or borio, and you went through this stirring, and you used a good stock, and you put fun things, even if it's peas and fresh thyme and garden herbs. It's great. Yeah. Spring vegetables.
Yeah. So
mushrooms are awesome.
You get them talking about different recipes. You could get them talking for another hour.
Whatever you do, saute your morels in butter. And for most mushrooms, some get seared and some just kind of get sweated. The butter is the key.
Congratulations, Noah's Ark. Another grandbaby on the way. Wow, cool. Wow. So best mushrooms
probably
ever
a porcini, or what they sometimes call a cep. Ceps are general class, which porcinis, and we can get them here dried and sometimes frozen. They're good, but a good, fresh, high quality porcini, and they have other mushrooms too, but porcinis are phenomenal. And again, risottos sautéed on top of meat or put into vegetable stuff.
If you haven't had dinner yet tonight, you're going to be really hungry by the time we say bye.
And porcinis can cost as much or more than morels, fresh, good quality ones.
So anyway, I think we went over what I was going to go over tonight. I was just reading these. Got to find them first. Yes.
It's too early. They're coming. Don't worry. You probably got up to the middle or end of May, depending on when we get how dry and how hot it gets.
Yeah, and you need wet. You need cool, like the soil into the 40s and 50s.
Soil needs to warm but not get hot.
But it can't be too hot. So I'm thinking, since in Michigan here, we're supposed to get rain midweek this week. Yeah. It's supposed to get hot midweek, but then we're supposed to get down to the 50s and 60s.
It's perfect.
We might hit perfect conditions.
Because we still need to warm our soil a little bit. So a good 75, 80 degree day or two to bring that soil up would be awesome.
So by Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we might start getting some morels.
Oyster mushrooms will come slightly after, or on the back end of morels. By the way, morels are not just one thing. There are black morels, brown morels, yellow and white. Yeah. They come at different times and different varieties, and sometimes slightly different places. They all taste about the same, but they are variants. So the oysters will then come.
Yeah. But the oysters will keep coming.
There are mushroom foraging sites, and we're not by far the specialists in this. We just have learned enough and really enjoy. When I know that if you go into a big city, and some of these mushrooms, morels could cost $30 to $40 a pound wholesale, depending on the year, and porcinis could cost $40 a pound. When you can get them for free, if you can locate them, the ability to access them at amazing quality and be able to explore and experience them is so good.
Yeah. Horehound, I don't know because I haven't come across it.
I've heard of it.
I've heard of it, but I don't know exactly what to do with it. That'd be something I'd be looking up, but I haven't come across it here, so I haven't.
Oh, one last thing on the mushroom. You can check websites, especially because a lot of people forage for one item at all, other than like a berry, like a raspberry or blackberry. It's probably going to be morels in our area, and they do nothing the rest of the year.
They're more on maps.
It's like hunters that deer hunt for 1 weekend a year. Yeah. They go morel hunting. So, and by the way, game meat, venison, different seasons, but if you have venison in your freezer and you can put it with fresh morels, that is a treat that people in big cities would pay a mint for, and you can have it, hopefully, by accessing it. But there are foraging sites, and there are trackers where people have pictures and verify where they found things, and that's how we started checking in just recently to see where they're at, and that's why we know there's a lot of stuff showing up in central to beginning to move into northern Indiana, Ohio, and that's why. So you can watch that for your area, or as it's scanning out, you can go, oh, they're kind of gone. They're
mushrooms found under the cow patties.
Well, there's a lot of different mushrooms found on manure. They many kinds love them. Yeah. Many of them are useless, taste bad, or are toxic. Horse and cow manure can grow hallucinogenic mushrooms. I know people like to go to manure for them. I've never had them. I think I've seen them.
We focus on edible.
We don't do hallucinogenic mushrooms, so they're of no use to us. But there are things that grow on dung, and some people prefer harvesting because it's a good medium. Some people are just kind of grossed out by it. Honestly, if you're picking something off of, not like wild whatever, but off a horse or cow, and you're going to cook it, it's probably okay. I mean, not necessarily okay to eat. It's going to be okay if it's a decent mushroom. Yeah. Sterilized dung, where they autoclave it or they bake it, and then you try and grow on it and cultivate it is an idea. That's how they grow.
That's
a lot
how
of the
they
white
grow
mushrooms,
some of those.
So.
Yeah. Okay. I planted some of the food forest.
Okay.
I'm thinking that's the horehound.
Horehound, yeah.
Horehound. It spreads and is very invasive. Well, that's why it goes in the food forest. We put some of the things that spread and you don't need to limit as much in our food forest area as well, instead of in the garden.
So we were the big winner today. We're loaded with eggs. We can't even sell them to people around here because people will pay $6 at the local store for organic commercial eggs.
How many did we get today? 18, I think.
We got another 18 today,
yeah.
and then we sell them at very reasonable low prices, but just finding people that you connect up at the right time. So we've been giving some extra ones away to some close friends and neighbors and some couple people we know that could use them.
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, look, here's 2 dozen eggs, enjoy them. So
you did a trade today
so I ended up with a neighbor go, hey, a direct neighbor who we walk their trails, and they've given us access to basically forage anything on their property because they don't care to forage.
Yeah.
We're like, we'll share it. He goes, I don't even care about the morels. You can just have them. Like, we'll give them to you.
Yeah.
But
we gave them eggs.
So we gave him 2 dozen. I said, well, I'll give you 2 dozen eggs. He goes, well, I really want to pay for them, or I'll trade you venison. He's been giving me venison for some stuff. I said, look, I'll take the venison. He must have given me 10 pounds of venison today, frozen.
Gosh. For 2 dozen eggs.
Backstrap, no backstrap. I've had chops, which could be chops, ground, and round, like 5 different packages for 2 dozen eggs. I was like, well, I guess we won on that one.
Yep.
But he got it. He hunted it. He got his share of 2 with some friends. And he goes, I don't think he's cooked any of it. He's like, I hardly eat it. So he's kind of like, have it. So we've had it twice, and I have one. And this was a large doe, and it's very clean and mild, and it's been really good. My dad had a little bit of it too when he was here. So.
Anyway, so I would say that trade ended up in our favor way more than expected, but that's awesome,
And my one caveat, and we're out of venison season again. I haven't really been a hunter because I just haven't had the opportunity. If anybody calls me up and I have time and says, "Do you want to go hunting?" I would love to go hunting with them. I just haven't. It's not.
Don't have a gun.
Yeah, it's not in my. It's But anyway, people send them to the processors. They make jerky. They take the backstrap and they grind everything else, and they make chili.
Yeah.
Or burgers, which is fine, but meatballs, all that. But so little of it gets cut into stew meat, and cube it and stew meat it and braise it. Put in your crock pot, your Instapot. Chop it up, saute some of the stuff into tacos. Experience using the tongue. It, which is going to be small, but these delicate pieces. It's incredible what you can treat it just like beef. Any cut you can get on beef.
The Texas boys are in.
Hi. Oh, hey, we were watching Texas Boys.
Not that long ago.
Or we're on with the Rhodes, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You guys were in the Rhodes room.
Yep. So yeah, really explore. And I know the cutters just want to cut them fast because they're so busy and chunk it up. But really think about not grinding 3/4 of it, and ask, can you cut some of the round or some of the other things into stew meat, into 1-inch cubes or 2-inch large cubes. Yeah. And just stick it in your crock pot. It's going to blow your mind. Or chop it up and make tacos. Just know if it's tough or tender is the key to knowing how to use it.
So, yeah, I mean, we've been going for a little over an hour now. We definitely have a lot of stuff coming, and there's a lot more. I got to figure out how to break down this video from today because of course, when you're out foraging for hours, that could make 5 videos.
We have a crazy 2-part seed saving, seed propagation.
Working on that. I finally started watching and pulling out.
You guys are in for a treat. This guy is known but little known.
Talked about for 2 weeks.
He is such a specialist, and he's got nuggets that are not just related to his seeds,
from his
but
field
related.
Trip.
We're gonna run. I think we're gonna.
Maybe 2 videos.
I asked Cindy to split it into 2 because she's doing it into 2 videos. She hasn't been on it, so she's doing forensic to watch the clips because she doesn't know what was there.
Yeah.
On like 3.5 hours of video, and that doesn't include video that we shot. Or earlier on, we had conversations before going out.
Yeah.
But he has all these nuggets on gardening.
Yeah.
And just general things from growing his whole life.
and grains.
That's going to be like a short video that's going to be just very cool, like practically a master gardener who's doing specialized stuff and what he thinks about growing.
We might do just Shirk's nuggets and just clips of his like suggestions on what
he
found.
That's good enough right there.
And then one on a little bit of the tour of his property and what he's currently doing in general with the grains, because he grows for...
He's got 8 acres on a slope.
On a slope that's like this.
Next with and a cutout in forested area. Although he's been on farms or growing or farmers market growing basically his whole life. He's come from some of an agricultural background.
But he's
totally down to earth. He does it full time at this point. He doesn't make much money, and he seeks out specialty seeds and plants perennials, what he calls
calorie crops.
Or if there was an apocalypse, you guys are all going to die eating tomatoes and peppers and have no calories. I'm going to learn how to grow calories that are actually theoretically going to sustain.
Yeah.
And
grains.
So he's self-taught, but the point is, like we were talking about earlier, Justin Rhodes said, just do it. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just doing experimenting. Yeah. He's figuring it out. He's like, I was always afraid to grow grain because everybody said it's too hard. You got to grow big commercial grain. You got to fertilize it. He goes, I'm going to figure it out. He goes, he goes, you know what? It's not scary. We should all be growing a little bit of grains, learning how to crack what can be easily threshed and used and cracked.
Yeah.
And what isn't easy. So that is pretty neat. He's just totally down to earth, but he's also a super specialist to the point where like the USDA calls him and goes, we heard you might have these seeds. Can we buy some? Can you send us some? Because we have projects and we don't have any resource. Do you have them? And he's like, no, I don't have them, or I do have them.
Yeah, so check out the Texas Boys. They have a new video coming out tomorrow.
Oh, cool. Any topic? Or?
Yeah, what is it? What are you doing on? Although I think you're about to head out. You said goodbye to everyone.
Yep.
But, we have that 2-part video coming. We have more with my niece. If you want, ideas on how to plant with kids, it worked really well. We don't have kids, but my niece being here at 3 years old, we're having her start seeds. She was so into it. It was, amazing. And maybe a little bit more than what some 3-year-olds can do, but it was kind of cool to include her.
We have found, by the way, if you are growing or you are foraging and you have kids that are, of a reasonable appropriate age, but fairly young, probably not 3 for foraging because of the poison ivy and other things, but they are lower to the ground.
Oh, yeah.
So the workload of planting and the ability to visualize and find things when foraging and the ease with their energy and ability, we don't have physical problems, but the ability to do stuff and bend over and find it, they're sometimes better than we are.
Oh, yeah. There's this kid how old is he, who forages with Nobby a lot and helps Nobby. 8 or 9?
No, he's like 12, but he's
little.
He's little.
But yeah,
he's actually older than
he's older than I was going to say. I thought he was a preteen.
No, he is.
But
he's just
he's
guy.
A little bit shorter. But last year he was the one who was finding the morels. I think it was just a height difference that he just caught the angle. You get a different
visual plane.
Yeah.
And when you get people looking at multiple levels, people are going to catch different things. That's why it's good to have a couple eyes.
Q&A with a lot of bloopers.
Q&A and bloopers.
Awesome. We'll be on the lookout for that.
What time is that, by the way?
Is it live or I think it might be
published. A video. He says a video, of course.
Yeah. So, we'll be on the lookout for that. You guys have a good night there in Texas. And we will be wrapping up here unless anybody has any other questions for us. I know that was kind of just a wing it night.
It's all right. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Bobblehead needs kids to plant seeds.
Yeah, right. I think we do too. The 1,000.
Yeah, if anybody else has any other topics or questions or things they want to just throw out there to everybody else, it's wide open for the next 5 minutes or whatever.
Yes. Thank you, Finite World. That is planting potatoes with the 3-year-old. She was pushing me with that. She went so fast. Oh my gosh. I was digging a little bit of a trench for her to put the potatoes in. I just showed her how far apart to place the potatoes.
We could just get her to dig manure out of the chicken coop. Her mother would kill us.
Yeah. I wouldn't do that at that age.
No.
But she went and put them in and coming at me at 2 and 3 and 4 at a time and putting them in, spacing them apart, but I could hardly keep ahead of her during that whole thing. So we planted actually 2 rows, but I have 1 row in the video. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, we ran out there real quick and forced the goose to run in, and
yeah, he
one
went
of them
out
didn't
to
want to
close.
go in. I chased him around for a second. He went out and then back in, but
yeah, Gus is funny. He will go in when the silkies. He's our silky guard goose. He goes in when the silkies go to bed, which is a little bit on the earlier side. But then he comes out and hangs out until it's so dark. He wants to be the last one in.
Saw the lovebirds from today, right? Was that this morning?
That was yesterday.
Yesterday.
That happened yesterday morning.
It's been very busy weekend, and this week's busy for us.
Well, I mean, I don't usually get a video out that fast, but it happened yesterday morning, and I actually I saw it happening. I grabbed the camera, and I was like, this has to go up right now. So I got that up by yesterday evening, which was probably the fastest I've ever shot and edited and uploaded and released a video. So that, the lovebirds, oh my gosh, Lucky and Houdini. You got to watch that one, you guys. They're going to drive us nuts.
We got to dig out Houdini's eggs sitting under the
at some point. Yes.
Hiding.
Yeah, we haven't gotten
too hot.
We haven't gotten to her eggs yet, but we got to get some stuff out of the way first.
Yeah.
So I am going to say goodnight also because it's in our time zone 10:20 and I have to work in the morning. So
Kirk pods. I don't know what Kirk pods are.
Kirk pods.
Like the coffee pots? Using the vessels or using the leftover grounds?
What do you think best friends using pods? Pods?
Well, the pod is the plastic casing, or using the spent coffee.
The little ones.
I think the shape is great. You might want to poke a little hole in the bottom to
for
allow drainage. In case you overwater. It's a huge full moon. It's a moondog moon, which is part of our logo.
Yeah. Yes. Well.
Our earlier videos
stuff.
have the moondog.
Yeah.
I think, and I know that some people use coffee grounds in their medium, especially we put them in the garden because some people say the caffeine helps. In general, it's just a good manure. By the way,
stimulant.
It's green manure. Yeah. Even though it's brown, it's green.
Yes.
So consider it green manure. I don't know if I'd go directly in that if that's up for questions, but I would maybe blend it in with everything else.
The carrot pods.
They're a little small.
They're small, so you could probably start some things in there, but you'd have to transplant it pretty early
quick
to something bigger because you don't want things to get root bound. I've recently been doing
I think the soil blocks is easier because you can size up.
Yeah. Now, the thing with soil blocks is you do have to get them packed in pretty tight. And I didn't go over this. I went over how to make them. But if you're watering things in a soil blocks, you either want to mist them, like with a misting spray. If you have them in a greenhouse, that's perfect. We have them inside, so that doesn't work. Or you want to have a gap where there's no soil blocks where you could pour the water in the bottom. Because if you pour the water right on the soil blocks, it'll disintegrate the soil blocks. They'll fall apart on you. And even pouring the water next to the soil blocks, like in a tray, and then what I do is pour it in the tray on the edge of it, and then kind of lift the tray a little bit to get the water to flow under them, and that way it can soak up from underneath, which is really the roots that need the water, not so much the green part. But that way they soak it up, and it stimulates the roots to reach down for the water as well. But you're also not having the blocks fall apart. Now, some of them still fall apart. That will happen, but you'll have a better...
By the way, the formula, the recipe that Cindy has for the Elliott Coleman recipe, if you want to go to the extremes of going through and doing all that, that's great. But there are a lot of people that create their own blocks. You need to be careful as your composition, that you have enough loose material and enough tight material and enough native soil. But you can be a little flexible on how you create your blocks. The nice thing about the blockers, there's 4 sizes, I think, really little to really big, but each size fits in the next size.
Yes, yeah.
So you can, as they grow, you can transplant directly into the next soil block.
Yeah, and the advantage there is they don't get root bound. Soon as the roots hit the edge of the soil block and hit the air, they do stop growing, and you go straight into the next soil block, and they start growing as soon as they touch the soil again, so they don't get all compressed in that.
You don't have any waste. You don't have any plastic. You don't have any either incurred cost from from buying it. Of course, you can reuse all that stuff. We don't really have a big deal with using plastic and reusing it. It's just there's no need to. You got all these costs now. The little crimpers for the soil block makers are a little pricey.
Yeah.
But as long as you maintain them, other than the trays that you're putting them in, you're not rebuying all that extra stuff over and over and over again, or washing. You're having to go wash and sanitize it.
Some people, including Elliot Coleman, make their own trays out of wood. Now I don't, because it would help if we were in a greenhouse and we could spray them down with a mister.
Yeah.
But the way we're set up right now, I can't easily mist them without killing me with how many blocks we have. If I do a squeeze bottle spray mist, it's going to take me forever by hand, and I might not get enough water on them. So that's why I've kind of used the plastic trays to put the blocks in, and that way I can put the water in the bottom of them and they can absorb it from the bottom. Yeah.
I've also seen people that just
toilet paper rolls work very well.
Toilet paper rolls, if you buy a lot of yogurt cups, even though they're still plastic cup and they're going to have
punch
the roots on them. But there's something that everybody buys quite a bit of.
Yeah,
milk
that you can reuse.
Plastic or paper milk cartons, yogurt containers. I've seen people cut soda bottles. Yeah. Cans are a little harder because they're sharp. There's something in your house that if you want to cut the cost on it, if you pack it in through the year, you're going to have it. It's just the blocks are pretty nice. And yes, we keep a compost bucket. We did it off and on, but we regularly, for the last couple of years now, keep it on the counter. Mm-hmm. I like it on the counter because I actually like it to begin a pre-ferment. To use either your edible enzymes if you ate anything that went in there, or if it's just I just washed it out tonight, but we wash it as it gets mucky, and smelly. But we actually want to start a little bit of a ferment and a compost on it, and we dump everything, all of our vegetable scraps, none of our meat scraps.
Our eggshells
and our coffee filter, and I'm the only one who drinks coffee.
Yeah.
But I put the filter
and my tea bags. My tea bags go in there.
Tea bags.
Yeah.
I mean, we could be putting paper. We could be doing more post-consumer bones, but we don't want to bring in raccoons and stuff.
We don't have a compost pile per se. We do the Justin Rhodes method of throwing it in with the chickens. So technically, our winter runs, I put it in there, and we will dig out the winter run material when it's all started breaking down, and move it into the gardens, into the raised beds and other places, and put the bedding from the coop, the winter coop, deep litter bedding into the run to start breaking down there. When they're moving around the property, we could just give it to them directly.
Yeah, so we throw that
right now they're in the garden
bucket every day or every 2 days. It's just a 1 gallon bucket. Yeah. It's an old ice cream tub.
And whatever the chickens don't eat, it gets composted. I don't worry about it. It gets composted in place. Right now they're in the garden, so that's just easy anyway.
And because we're cold, we get a cold freeze. Avocado pits, tomato seeds. Tomato seeds might grow.
Yeah.
But avocado pits and other weird stuff that shouldn't really be growing in our area. The chickens don't eat them, obviously. Yeah. We don't care. They're going to break down, and we're not going to get some crazy, weird, invasive avocado trees all over. Although we'd be happy to have an avocado tree.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. No, and our tomatoes, our volunteer tomatoes that the chickens plant. Last year we had tons of them. We harvested them.
Sunflowers pop up all the time for bird seed.
That's fine.
We actually get a little bit of the seed because we use a scratch, which has whole seed, and we buy from a guy who mostly buys edible or feed seed appropriate material, so it is viable. Some of the whole seeds will grow if the birds don't eat them. So we get some interesting stuff.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we definitely should wrap up because I am getting close to my bedtime for work, and I got to start heading that direction. And it has been a crazy busy day here. Next week, it'll also be busy, so I will... I'm not sure what I'm going to do for Herb of the Week, and if you guys have thought of another name for that, please put it in the chat.
Well, and next week's we're going to be full of stuff because I have the beginning of farmers market for my business Saturday. I'm on the road 2 days at conferences and training sessions on a variety of topics, none of them related to homesteading particularly, for 2 days. And then we're getting ready for...
The market.
We do a once a month market. which is it's really a flea market, but it's like it's supposed to be a higher end knick-knack antique flea market, but they have some food stuff, so I go there.
Sundays.
That's outdoors, so that's once a month. We're gonna do that. I had a really good winter run, so.
And then Nobby's doing.
And then we're going to, so we're gonna go right from that. So up early, we're gonna go with like no gap to go forage for 4 hours.
Yeah.
We're gonna fill our bellies with the most amazing foraged bibimbap, and then we're gonna rush back here, and we're gonna have like an hour to probably get ourselves cleaned up, de-ticked, and. Okay. And then we're gonna jump on live again.
No ticks today.
No ticks at all. But with the weather popping to 80, we may be and it's kind of wet out and things. Ticks and mosquitoes will probably come too.
Yeah. So, yeah, that will definitely start being a problem soon.
So we'll come with lots of, and maybe a little loose format, but we always jot down some notes. Cindy's always got a little note tab here.
And if we find some fun things, maybe we'll do it. If we do find morels, maybe we'll just do it on morels next week, you know. We've had some discussion
already. And again,
already.
anybody who is in Southwest Michigan within an hour of Kalamazoo.
Yeah, I like the wild
forage. If you want to come out and wild forage, we're not hosting it. We're just a guest. We pay to go.
Yep. Send us a message.
Send us a private message. We're happy to give you details. It's 3 to 6. It's about $40 a person. Kids are free.
Parttimepermies.com, parttimepermies@gmail.com is our email.
And we'd love to meet you, but Nobby would love to show you around, and you will come back with more cuttings and forage stuff as part of that. So if you happen to be in the area and it works, we just want to promote that.
There are a lot of essential oils that ticks hate. Lavender is probably one of them.
And the rose geranium and lavender we've been using?
Yeah, rose geranium. It had some lemongrass. There was I'll have to look up my recipe. There was a recipe.
It worked on the dog's paws because we were having terrible tick year last year, and he was coming back with 4 or 5 ticks on a 30-minute walk.
Each walk.
And he's a Great Dane with really long blue-gray fur, which made, it was short, it was
a little hard to find.
You had to feel them.
Yeah, and he would get them between his toes and stuff, so I'd have to check each foot.
Every walk.
But once I started putting the essential oils on his paws.
And it didn't bother him, either physically or his skin or anything.
No, and he did really well with it. And now, of course, those essential...
Myers sells city chicken? Really? I didn't know that. We have Myers around here.
Huh. And Nobby uses cinnamon. She buys
cinnamon. I don't know if it works or not. She throws cinnamon all over everybody.
She puts it on all her jeans and
on everybody. It's an irritant. It's a strong oil, and the grind will, aside from the cells, may get into their gill or into their their breathing,
into the exoskeleton,
or their breathing. So I can see where it'd be a serious irritant for certain things.
It might actually work a little bit like diatomaceous earth, a little bit.
I think just all around irritant for things.
Yeah. So,
of course, we love cinnamon.
if anyone's in Southwest Michigan or wants to make a little trek over here next Sunday, I think it starts at 3. But
I'll tell you, it's so worth your time. Yes. I will give you your money back if you don't think it was that good.
But you have to wear long jeans, no matter the temperature. You have to wear long jeans. You have to have.
Recommend muck boots or a hiking boot because it could be a little moist. Yeah. It is rain or shine unless it's downpour, thunderstorm, terrible. It happens.
But it's supposed to be nice. It's supposed to be nice next Sunday. So, if you're interested, just shoot me an email at parttimepermies@gmail.com and I will get you Nobby's information on how to sign up. And we don't get any benefit of this. We're just doing it because we love foraging with Nobby and think others would enjoy it too.
Try and help out a friend who we think deserves. She deserves to make $500,000 a year.
And she doesn't. She would buy their
She doesn't make a half of that or a half of that.
It's at Bonamigo Farms.
Yeah, Bonamigo Farm is the host. And
west of Kalamazoo.
They're a growing and foraging farm that's all natural, by the way. It's on natural and for the most part not certified organic but undisturbed land. So we know when we're on those 300 acres, things are safe to eat because the farmer has lived there for 70 years and his family's been on there longer. So we know we're in good areas. So
yeah. Anyway,
city chickens. Yep. City chickens definitely know about that. That's really started to become popular again. You're not the only ones. I started hearing it crop up on a regular discussions in the last 3 years or so, hearing it a lot.
Yeah. Anyway, Interesting.
Don't make pork chop soup though. I heard a friend who made that. Threw whole pork chops in water and boiled them. They call it pork chop soup. And
that
all the grease. Good. No, it was terrible. One of my friends said it was the worst meal ever. They'd have this pork chop soup. I think you could make it good. They just didn't know how to make a good soup.
I don't know. Anyway, we should wrap up definitely, you guys. Thanks for sticking with us in our overtime. Yep. We've gone an hour and a half now, It sounds like. So we will see you same time. We're going to stick with the 9 o'clock Eastern
9 o'clock all summer. Maybe readjust in the fall.
Maybe, but maybe we'll keep it the same. We'll see how it goes.
I think it's good. People are winding down for their night, and they're looking to kind of chill out and relax or do whatever. Or, have a glass of warm milk or a grandma's hot toddy or whatever before bed, and can do that and hang out.
We will say good night and see you next week. Enjoy your week, you guys.
Good night.